Today we've got a couple stories for you about people with what seems like some addictions they need help with. Want to know what I mean? Let's dive in and read some stories. First up, found out about years of multiple affairs while pregnant. This story is a long one, and I'm too drained to write out every single detail. But 3 days ago, I, 33 female, found out that my husband, 38 male, has had multiple affairs throughout our entire marriage. We wed in 2016, but have been together since 2011. I'm currently 3 months pregnant with his child, and we also recently bought a house together. I feel so confused, hurt, and stuck. It started by me noticing that he was DMing one of my best friends on Instagram because of the notification pop-ups. FYI, she is married to one of his best friends and they have 2 children. I didn't think much of it at first, but after sitting on it more, I just had a feeling. So after a lot of asking and pressing about the conversation, he ultimately admitted that they had sex 4 months after our marriage in 2016. They fooled around again the same year, but didn't have sex. After more pressing, he told me that after the first time cheating, something in him switched, and he continued to have 3 more physical affairs with other women from 2017 until this year. The worst part about this is that with 3 out of those 4 affairs, he had sex with these women while I was there. For example, one time was at our house after a party and everyone went to bed and they snuck into another room. Another took place outside a different party in the girl's car while I was inside. It's like he wanted to get caught. On top of that, he also admitted to at least 10 other encounters on Instagram of him sending and receiving nude photos and sexting with girls he knew. I read one of those conversations and it was 100% all initiated by him. He came off as a disgusting creep and not the man I thought I knew. He admits to shame and remorse and doesn't blame me. He says he has a sex addiction and was drunk every single time it happened. He also says he has had no emotional attachment to any of these women, including my best friend who also hid it from her husband and continued to hang out with me and us pretty frequently. He claims he is going to AA now and will be starting sex addiction therapy. If this has been happening for 4 years, I just don't understand why he would continue a relationship with me, buy a house with me just last month, and not tell me before it got this far, and I got pregnant. I feel awful every day. I can't sleep. I literally get 0 to 4 hours a night, can't eat, feel sicker than normal with morning sickness, and I sob uncontrollably. I know this can't be good for the baby. We are separated now because I kicked him out, but I will divorce him eventually. With as bad as this is, I know I would never be able to trust him again. The support that I've received from family, including his, as I'm very close to his mom and sisters, has been amazing, and I am very grateful. But I'm also terrified of raising this child as a single mother and figuring out what to do with our dream home. I'm no expert, but I think this might be a little bit more than an addiction. Let's see what the chosen comment is. Vague Media says, "You should leave him for your own safety. He is an addict. There's a good chance that he will do it again, especially now when you're pregnant. Your sex life will decline and he will blame you for it later after D-Day. Get yourself tested for STDs and also inform the affair partner's husband. He deserves the truth just like you. He will not change for sure. You should make sure to see your future and child's health first rather than helping him. Of course, the decision is yours to make, but I think there's a high percentage of chance he will do it again. He did it right under your nose with you nearby, 50 meters distance. That means his addiction is too far. It will take him a long time to recover, but one mistake is enough to go back where he was." The original poster comes back with, "Yes, sorry for not clarifying this. I meant by divorce eventually that I will 100% be divorcing him. I just need to talk to an attorney and get that ball rolling. I've been taking the past few days to process. I will never, ever, ever get back together with him. I have too much respect for myself and completely understand and agree that there is a high chance of this happening again. I also recently was tested by my OB and had an HIV test because of the pregnancy, and thank goodness everything came back clear. Thank you so much for your input and support." But wait, there's an update. D-Day number 2. Not sure where to even start with this. I told my story here a few months ago and then basically went silent as I tried to figure out what to do. To recap from September, D-Day 1. I, 33 female, found out that my husband, 38 male, cheated on me 4 times physically, one being an ongoing affair with my best friend. And from what I knew at the time, approximately 10 times online with women he both knew and did not know in real life. On D-Day 1, I was about 12 weeks pregnant. At the time, I went back and forth about the decision of abortion, but ultimately decided to keep the baby. I'm now 29.5 weeks pregnant, and expecting in early April. After all of the above, we separated and he went to stay with his dad, same town. I surrounded myself with supportive friends and my in-laws were supportive as well. But my parents and family live on the other side of the US and I still need a lot of help during the pregnancy. We had also bought a house shortly before I found out about his numerous affairs. Immediately after I caught him, my husband began going to Sexaholics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous meetings several times a week and began working on his recovery. He still goes to these. He was remorseful and apologetic and would drop everything to help me around the house if and when I needed it. Very recently, he started staying the night again and sleeping in the guest room to help take care of our old dog, who has cancer and has been having major health issues because I cannot care for her adequately, being in my 3rd trimester now. I'll note here that we have not been intimate since D-Day for a variety of reasons. All of this leads me to yesterday. We had a disclosure meeting with our marriage counselor that we should have had a long time ago. It was then that I found out he relapsed with another online affair, about 3 weeks ago, in the midst of his recovery. He hid this from me until our session and lied to my face about it. He has been saying that social media is a trigger for him and he got rid of all his accounts back in September, except LinkedIn, where he apparently met this random woman from another state and had a one-off sexual conversation because we are separated, he has an addiction, needs the attention. I'm not sure I believe the entire story around this. LinkedIn? Really? Anyway, I also found out some more trickle truths during the session. Like that he originally lied about the number of online affairs being 10, and that it was probably closer to 15. And that one of the physical affairs he told me was with someone he knew was actually with an escort he found after a concert one night and paid or met up with them. He also revealed that he had been spending money on camera services and not just sexting on social media. I'm so freaking lost. If I wasn't pregnant, and if we hadn't bought a house together, I would like to think I would have left back in September and never looked back. With the coming baby and COVID and not having a great support system here, I felt stuck and needed his help. And now I feel trapped again, and I'm not sure what to do or where to go. I believed he was recovering and that we could eventually reconcile, but his addiction has hurt me again. Now he won't leave the house because of the dog and says he has nowhere to take her. When we separated before, he stayed with his dad, the dog stayed with me, and now he stays because his dad doesn't want our dog around his own dog. The only thing keeping me sane right now is that I've been in my own recovery program, S&On, and my sponsor and step work is keeping me from having a total breakdown. I don't know what I expected. I know I was naive, but I felt and feel so vulnerable, and in letting him remain close for the baby, I allowed him to hurt me again. I know I cannot allow this to happen a 3rd time, but how exactly do I move on from this in my condition and given the circumstances? Well, let's see what the community thinks. Storyteller 618 says, junkies typically relapse a number of times. My expectation would be that this will happen a few times more at least. I understand it in the sense that I've seen junkies relapse 99% of the time. That's not fair to you, but that has been my experience. It might be that you have to remove yourself from him, at least temporarily, to protect yourself, and possibly one day he will be able to overcome that addiction and will be safe to be with you. I think to some degree it is easier to live with in the same house if it is another type of addiction, like alcohol, rather than sex addiction. Sometimes I read stories similar to yours where cheaters claim sexual addiction, and it seems like BS to me, but sometimes it seems real. Not that I can read a paragraph or two to know that, but I get the sense in you and your husband's case, he really has an addiction he is trying to stop. Anathema chimes in with, alcohol and drugs are physical addiction with pretty severe withdrawal symptoms. Alcohol and drugs are physical addiction with pretty severe withdrawal syndromes. His cheating is a choice he makes because he is selfish and can only think of himself. Sexaholics is such a BS excuse to legitimize and sanitize the fact that he cheats because he wants to. There's no physical addiction component to his philandering penis. Stop comparing apples to oranges. He is a cheating jerk, and no amount of self-help groups or addiction meetings will change him until he decides to seek therapy. Alrighty then, on to the next story. I can't stop contacting my boyfriend even though I broke up with him for cheating on me. I always try to keep my story short, but I can't. Sorry. Wait, always? How many stories has this person told? Yeesh. Background. I, 26 female, had been suspecting my boyfriend, 29 male, of about 6 months to have been cheating on me for a while. I didn't exactly know what the cheating would have consisted of, but for the last few months, especially the last month, he had honestly become an a-hole with me and wasn't even trying to see me. I was the one that would have to say on the weekends, "Should I come over today?" And his response would be, "If you want." Basically, even when I would go over, although we mostly had a good time, our arguments often occurred during the week when we would communicate through phone. I deep down was dying for the moment to look through his phone so I could find out about his cheating. Women's intuition is no BS. Finally, last Friday, after we had argued during the day and he treated me like crap, I decided I don't care if we fought. I'm going to go to his house and make him feel like I need to be with him and find the opportunity to look through his phone. So I basically begged to go over, and he didn't even care if I went or not, but I went and we argued and came to a resolution and then laid down to rest. He fell asleep and his phone was away from him, so I got up, looked through a few conversations, and found out he had been cheating. One girl was someone from his past who was basically a sex buddy. Before I confronted him, I only read some of the conversation, but it was clear they kept talking about meeting up and how it wasn't working out. He asked her to send over any other girls he knew that were down to have sex. After I confronted him, he basically admitted to meeting her once and having sex with her, and I convinced him to show me the whole text thread. Mostly, he would avoid meeting her, but toward the end, he was the one trying to meet up with her. There was a pattern, by the way. On the days we had big fights, he was trying to go meet up with her. There was at least one other girl on Instagram who he had been regularly talking to, who he did not know in person. Not necessarily flirting or being sexual, but he spoke to her regularly when the last 2 months in our relationship we were having so much trouble communicating normally throughout the day. I was being an idiot trying to figure out how we can communicate better because all I wanted was for us to be happy. But this absolute piece of crap was spending time entertaining other girls instead of putting that work in his relationship. So my main dilemma now is that I broke up with this jerk, and of course, he expected that. But on that Friday night, in order for me to have seen the whole text conversation with his sex buddy, I gave him some stupid excuse about him possibly having any chance with me only if he let me see the convo. He didn't want me to see it because of how shameful it was. He claimed he felt shame. I doubt it. But anyway, I wanted to know the details because I felt entitled and felt like it would make me move on and have more hatred for him. But anyway, since I told him if he let me see he may have a chance, he clung on to that and told me he is going to change. After hours, I finally went home, and the next day he called and texted a few times. I finally answered the call, and he talked about how he was sorry and he is going to take the steps to be a better person and never do this to me again. Basically, I of course have repeatedly reminded him if he was a good person and if he ever cared or respected me, he would have never been able to do what he did. By the way, he had no intention of ever telling me. He admitted that. He just claimed he thought he could stop, but we all know this is BS. After a few days of answering his calls, and we would talk for hours, it would start with me asking questions about details and basically telling him what a horrible person he is. I decided to tell him to not contact me. The problem is, the last 2 days I have been contacting him because I still remember certain days that felt off, and I ask him what he was up to on those days and demand that he tell me the truth. Then I get back into the cycle of making him feel like crap for what he did. A part of me simply cannot stop contacting him. He said he will continue to answer the questions I have and deal with me reminding him how crappy he was. He hopes that will help in me giving him a chance. I think about what he did, and I hate him. He made me so happy in the beginning, not because he did anything crazy or amazing for me, but I truly felt he was a good person and felt happy like I never had in my last relationship. My last guy of 5 years was great and never cheated, but I never felt this happy with him, even in the start. Obviously, my perspective is skewed because at least I never felt this horrible with him, ever. But I guess I was never in love with the other one, but probably still am in love with this crap of a person. I know the smartest thing would be to move on. We were only together for 6 months. That is nothing, and I know I can do so much better and probably will never ever trust him no matter what he does. He agreed to let me have his social media passwords and have access to his location. I don't even want to be that crazy person who stalks his accounts and his location. Why do I still have the urge to contact him? What the heck is wrong with me? I'm not really sure if that's the heart steering you wrong or just something wrong with you, but let's see what the community says. BK Calais says, "You're looking for closure. Some sort of finality that makes the blindsidedness of this entire situation make sense. The aha moment. When my stepmother was dying in the hospital after being put in an induced coma, we fought for any sign of life. Something that was truly her. Her finger moved, see? Or, if you can hear us, clench your eyelids. And we knew that she was gone. It was over. But we still wanted any bit of possibility to be shown. You're looking for signs of life in a dead relationship. Something that says, I don't want to get with a sex buddy. I really care about you and made a mistake and regret this decision. I'm not in my right mind. I'm blank. I'm blank. Something that shows he cared more about you than he actually does. I think it's important to get closure, but I also think you can get it from one single conversation and from one single question. Why? And maybe he'll say he doesn't know. Maybe it's the truth. But all you're looking for is the why, and it won't be in the messages between him and another woman. The OP responds with, dude, the thing, I screwed up by letting him think he has a chance because now everything he is telling me is actually making me consider giving him another chance. He did say I screwed up and wasn't in my right mind. He even went on to tell me the full story of his ex and their miscarriage. Sad story, but definitely no excuse for him cheating, and he wasn't using it as that. But I guess him telling me the story did prove to some degree that he is still screwed up mentally, and maybe he would be better if he sought help. I guess that is why I keep contacting him, but at the end of the day, he won't be helped overnight, so how the F do I stop? BK Calais responds again with, I'm a forgiving person. I am a person who believes genuinely that people change. I've seen it. I've changed myself. Not from cheater to honest, but from political parties, religion, personal views, you name it. Sometimes we learn by messing up. Mental health and societal struggles are real. I can't say what I'd do in your situation. I can say that my stance would not drop in order to make this easier for him. If he loves you and truly wants to be with you, he has to understand what this entails. And sometimes that means the relationship won't be healthy for a while. Maybe you'll want full access to all of his accounts. That's not healthy. Maybe you'll want him to text or call you within X amount of time, to track his location, to whatever. That's not healthy. Mediation is healthy. Even if you don't ever get back with him, finding a middle ground, learning how this happened in the first place, and moving away towards something better should be the end goal. I know couples who are stronger than ever despite the cheating. I know couples who have split because of emotional affairs. It depends on the both of you. Get yourself checked, STDs and etc., and make sure he is checked before you do anything else.